Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is debbyadeniran. So today we're going to be talking about how to ace your interview. So on this channel, we're not just talking about how to get jobs, but we're talking about intentionality, how you can strategically position yourself as the right candidate. So congratulations if you're actually at this stage where you've been called for interview. But if not, maybe you're still expecting, I pray that very soon you'll also be selected for interview. So let's talk about interview stages. So you've applied for the job, you've been called for interview. What are the things you should know? So it's good to always understand that there are about 3 to 4 stages of interview. So some people may get very lucky and they just get one interview and that's it. But in most cases, most people will go through about 3 to 4 stages of interview. So the first stage really is called the screening interview, usually a phone or video interview where the HR or recruiter is trying to assess your suitability for the job. So they want to assess your communication skills, they want to know your basic qualification, they want to understand your availability. Because a lot of times some people apply for jobs, but they're not even available or they will not be available the next 4 months. So they want to confirm your suitability for the job. So it's always good to have like a strong 60 seconds professional introduction that will sell you and position you right. So for example, you can say, oh, I currently work as a project manager. I've got experience in stakeholder management and process improvement. I'm particularly interested in this role because it aligns with my strategic goals or experience in delivering cross-functional projects. So keep it clear, keep it confident, and keep it structured. Don't forget, keep it confident, concise, and structured. So they'll ask you other questions, but most of those questions are just around maybe what you said in your CV. They just try to confirm that they have the right CV in front of them. So it's called screening stage. So you just imagine that a lot of people have been called for interview. Maybe about 100 CVs have been selected, and they need to maybe interview about 20 people. So that's screening stage is to select those 20 people. So keeping it concise, clear, structured may, position you well for the next stage. So the next stage is usually called the hiring manager interview. Hiring manager interview, it may comprise of the hiring manager and plus or and yeah, hiring manager and subject matter expert. So this is more like a detailed competency-based interview where they want to assess your skills, they want to assess your experience, they want to evaluate the depth of your experience, they want to test your problem solving skills. They want to know you in terms of your experience. So this is a more detailed interview that needs a lot of preparation and attention, and we'll get to that at some point. So you always want to answer this type of questions using the STAR approach, which we'll also get to as we go along. The third stage is usually the panel or technical or assessment stage. So where people go to assessment centers or where they ask you technical questions, technicality part of you, where they ask you technical questions, where they ask you questions about the technicalities of your role. It could also be panel interview where you have multiple people, eh, where you have multiple stakeholders from different departments interviewing you. Usually you have the fourth stage, which is the final interview stage. And this is usually called the executive or offer stage, where you get to meet with the director or with the most senior person. Sometimes it's just called a cultural fit interview, where they want to assess if you're a good culture fit for the organization. So what is important at that stage is to demonstrate your value, demonstrate collaboration, demonstrate ownership, demonstrate leadership. They want to see that you're a good fit for the organization. So these are the different stages of interview, but it may differ depending on the company or some may just be 3 stages, Some may just be phone interview and competency-based interview, and that's it. And some other places you may have to go through first stage, second stage, third stage, and the fourth stage. So let's talk about the types of interviews. So we've talked about different stages, but let's talk about types of interviews. So there is the phone interview, face-to-face interview, competency-based interview, group interview, technical interview, panel interview, case interview, assessment center interview. There's also informal interview, there's video interview. So there's so many types of interview, and I'll go through them just one by one. So phone interviews where, like I said, the screening stage where the recruiter is calling you to assess your suitability for the job. Face-to-face interview could be a video interview like this where where they're interviewing you on maybe Zoom, on Teams, or Google Meet, or any of the video platforms. So face-to-face interview could also be that you're invited to the actual organization to come for interview. There's also competency-based interview where you're being assessed, where your experience is being assessed. There's also group interview where you're not just the only one being interviewed. A group of people, a group of candidates are interviewed at the same time. And a group interview, they give you like a scenario based questions for you to work together as a group and to present your answers. So there's also technical interview. Technical interview, they're trying to assess the technicality of your role. So it's mostly skill-based questioning or practical tests. For example, if you're in IT, you can be given a scenario. If you're given a scenario for you to demonstrate how you're going to implement it or fix something. So we also have the panel interview where you have multiple people interviewing you at the same time. There's also a case interview where you're given structured business problems for you to solve. And this is very common in consulting, strategy, finance roles, business analyst roles, project management. They're testing your analytical thinking, your business reasoning, and your business acumen. So they want you to come up with solution or implement a business problem. There's also assessment center where you go to a place with full day and they give you a lot of questions to solve. There's group tasks, there's presentation, there's test, there's interview, all that you probably do over a period of time. You do everything in one day. So this is mostly to assess your fit and potential. They want to know they want to be able to see in a day everything in terms of they want to be able to assess your overall fit and potential for the job. So it's not just about being the smartest, it's about the balance that you bring. So make sure you prepare, make sure you manage your energy, make sure you're consistent, and make sure you stay professional. So we also have informal interview where you just have an interview over coffee, over a chat, or maybe you've done the initial screening stage and the second stage, and then the manager, the director would invite you for a coffee or chat just to have a chat with you. So it's usually informal, but as informal as that is, they're also trying to test your culture fit. They're trying to test your culture fit and see if your personality is a good fit for the organization. So it means it's a culture fit, does not mean casual, it does not mean careless. So you still need to prepare, you still need to be relaxed, but most importantly, you need to be professional. This type of interview is the video interview where they really want to test your technical readiness, they want to test your professionalism and test your presence online. They are assessing you online via Teams, Zooms, or Google Meet, or any of the video platforms. And this is and this is one of the most common type of interview today. Most organizations are doing their interviews on videos. So make sure that you prepare very well. Make sure that your background is clear because your background is part of your brand. Make sure that you have good lighting, your neutral background. Look at the camera, not the screen. So make sure you prepare very well. Out of all these interview types, there are four that are very common. Number one is a phone interview. Then number two is a face-to-face interview. Number three is a culture fit interview. And number four is a or group interview, assessment interview, or technical interview. And all of these can be done face-to-face or video or virtual. So how to approach interviews. So how do I approach interviews? How do I strategically position myself as the right candidate for this job? Remember that interview can be very challenging and daunting, and feel nervous and you feel stressed. But you must remember that this is your opportunity to do what? To get the job. This is your opportunity to stand out. So how do you approach interviews? Number one thing that I tell people is that always ensure that you read the job description. Always ensure that you read the job descriptions. A lot of times, the secret is in the job description. A lot of times, most organizations will give you an hint about what they're going to be testing about in the job descriptions. But unfortunately, a lot of times we don't read the job descriptions. We may not even remember the where where to find the job description. But I think if you check online, you'll always be able to find that particular job description because I think it stays there for about 90 days thereabouts. So read the job description carefully, underline, check for the type of words that are being used, underline the tools they've mentioned, underline the business problems that they have mentioned. Make sure that you circle, color, use everything you have within your means to analyze the job description. What are they looking for? What are the type of skills that they are looking for? So read the job description. Reading the job description will give you an insight into the type of questions they're likely to ask you, the interview formats, and how to structure and present your answers. So where they have used words that you're not familiar with, make sure you research, make sure you Google those words to understand what it means. And during your interview, you want to use exactly the same words that have been used. Why? Because most people are attracted to people who speak their language. So by using those words, you want to speak the language that the recruiter or the hiring manager is as used. So read the job description carefully. What are they looking for? And I tell you that what they're going to be testing for is in the job description. Another thing that is very important for you to do is to research the company. Research the company. 24% of hiring executives rejects candidates who don't know anything about the organization. So research the company. What are their values? What are their goals? What are the recent developments? Read about their SCR, social corporate responsibility. Read about their latest achievements. Are they investing in energy, in this and that? Make sure that you have enough information about their recent initiatives and development. And you want to be intentional to use these things that you learned when you're speaking at your interview. It demonstrates that you're resourceful. It demonstrates that you know what you're doing. It demonstrates that you're confident and competent. So research the company. Don't just research for researching's sake. Make sure that you use the knowledge that you've acquired during your interview. Slot it somewhere. That's the trick. Okay, so the next one really is that you read your CV thoroughly. Read your CV thoroughly. Unfortunately, I've heard somebody said, they asked me a question from my CV, and I can't remember that I put that in my CV. I don't even have a clue. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't read our CVs. And especially where you've copied a CV online or you downloaded CV somewhere and you just changed a few things, but not everything. Or you've asked AI to generate your CV for you, but you've forgotten to read your CV, digest it, understand it. So read your CV thoroughly, because a lot of times they have your CV in front of them, and they're going to be looking at what you said you put there, your experience, and they're asking you questions based on what you said. If you're unable to answer questions that comes from your CV, it shows lack of integrity, and nobody wants to employ anyone who does not have integrity. Another thing is to research the interviewers anonymously. Research the interviewers anonymously. A lot of times when they send you the initial invite, they will tell you the name of the people that will be interviewing you. Well, that's if they tell you. So if they tell you these are the people that will be interviewing you, these are their roles, what are they telling you invariably? Is to research. So research them anonymously. Yeah. What are the things that they discuss or talk about online? Because these are some of the things you can use to strategically make yourself recruitable, because like I said, people are attracted to people who speak their language. And recently somebody told me that they actually researched about the person that was going to interview them. Person loves football and supports a particular charity. Having informal chat with them, he brought it up and said, "Oh, I love football." And coincidentally, he also loves football. So you want to find something that aligns for common interests, common values. What are the things that you have that this person shares? What are the values that you have? What are the things that you like? What are the common interests, common values between you two? And you want to bring that up during your interview. It shouldn't be about lying just to get yourself favored. It's about being intentional. It's about being truthful. It's about finding that common interest between you two. So you want to know about so research the interviewers anonymously. What are the things they So research the interviewers anonymously. Check them on LinkedIn anonymously. Remember, and research about their networks. Once you've done that, during your interview, it makes you feel as if you've met them before. It makes you feel as if they're not new, they're not strange. So you're less nervous, and you're less nervous, but you're confident. So it makes you also feel that you've met them before, even though you've never met them. So it makes you feel confident, and so it makes you feel confident, and you're able to build rapport with them. So research about them anonymously. I also want to talk about research past interviews. So go online, search for the company, search for their past interview, research past interviews, research the past interview questions, check the type of questions that they ask, and that will give you a clue to what you should be expecting from them as well. Good to research their competitors, because you may use that information during your interview. So they ask you questions like, what are the things you think we can do? What are the things you think we can do as a company to improve ourselves? So you want to talk about the competitor is already doing this, so you think they can do that. So it's always good to have all this information at hand before you go for your interview. So then test your equipment and wearables. So test your equipment and wearables, especially if you're going for a video interview. Especially if you have a video interview like on Zoom and Google Meet, you want to test that your camera is working. You want to test that for example, if you're presenting, you want to test that your PowerPoint, all those documents are working. You're able to show PowerPoint. You're able to display, anything you're presenting. Working, make sure that you have a good charger. If you're going to be presenting like PowerPoint, make sure that you can actually present PowerPoint on your laptop, on your device. So test your equipment, test your earpiece to make sure that it's working. Just make sure you test everything. Test your clothes to make sure that there's no stain, there's no cut out anywhere. So test all your wearables. And also study and prepare. Study and prepare. Don't just go for interview without studying. Studying, and part of studying is researching the company, reviewing your CV. Part of studying is going online to search for interview questions and have suitable answers for each of the questions that you prepared. And master your lines. Master your line. Don't just think that you get to the interview room and you remember everything that you have prepared. So there's a need for you to master your lines, master what you're going to say for every question, and be ready to adapt. Because sometimes the questions you prepared for, they may not ask you, but how do you then adapt yourself to make sure that the answer you have still fit into the question that they've asked you? So you must be intentional about being able to adapt to any question that they ask you based on what you know, and then plan your journey. Plan your journey. If you're going to be traveling, make sure that you go ahead of time. Make sure that you can even go a day before, find a place to stay. Make sure that you just know, plan your time. Because somebody told me that they didn't get a job because they got late. So they came late for the interview, and he did very well. He was allowed to do the interview. He did very well, and they said, "You did very well. You're the most suitable person for this job." But we are very intentional about attendance. So we're concerned that you came late for the interview, so you didn't get the job. So always make sure that you plan your journey so that you're not necessarily stressed, then or not unnecessarily nervous. So this is how to approach your interview. And next time I'm going to be talking to you about how to prepare on the day. Okay. So I'll see you in the next session.